Hello, can you please state your name, age, and where you are from?
Marvin J. Van Den Broek, which means of the pants in Dutch, or we are tailors, or it could also mean the third meaning is by the creek, but Van Den Broek. I'm 77 years old. And what was the other thing again?
And where you're from.
Oh, Kimberly, Wisconsin. The Kimberly Papermakers. My dad worked for Kimberly Clark Paper Company. And our town was Kimberly, Wisconsin.
So tell us a little bit more about your childhood and how you grew up, your parents, your siblings.
Okay, when I have one sister, and that's my sibling. And we did fight a little bit in younger years, but we're fine now, you know what I mean? Like we don't come back. But what I remember in my childhood, see, because I lived in World War II, and in World War II, we needed bullets for the soldiers. My dad was working at a paper mill, and they started to make bullets, okay? And what I remember is this guy came to our front door. Nobody comes to our front door, because there was a nice side door. But this guy rapped on the front door, and my mom went to the door. I was like 4.5 years old, and I'll never forget it. He pounded on the door, and he said, "We need your copper bottom pots and pans." So I said to Mom, "What is he doing?" And he's making, he needs some pans with copper bottoms. And see, they were melting it down for bullets for the war. And she went into the cupboard and she opened that door and she gave him every copper bottom pan we have. And when he left, I said, "How are we going to eat, Mom?" But this is the war effort. People got behind it. On Sundays, we would go down the railroad tracks. Everything's rationed. You can't get butter. You can't really get eggs. You can't get much meat. But we would walk down the railroad tracks and pick up coal and put it in a bucket. And then bring that home because we had a big boiler downstairs that you threw stuff in. So I remember that part really good in my childhood. And as a child, my dad would take me hunting and fishing, and that's probably why I'm in Alaska too, you know, because he started that. And I started the right way. Like when Dick Roth was talking about don't point the gun at anybody. You know, this is the way you start it, just as a childhood person. You start with a BB gun unloaded, and you carry it around. You don't point it at anybody, and that's your first experience. And then after that, you can't even cock it yet, but you're that age, okay? So then you finally can cock it, but you only go with your dad, and you can only use it hunting. You can't use it any other time. So we're hunting, and he said, "If I missed a rabbit with a shotgun, then you shoot it with the BB gun." And thank God, once a rabbit ran right by me, but I couldn't shoot it. I missed. With my BB gun, I was going to get it. And then you go to the shotgun next. We never had a pellet gun in those days, but I went to a shotgun. And what happened was, my dad was so trusting. They always trusted me. They let me do stuff that I don't even know if I let my kids do. That's how trusting they were. So we went to get my hunting license. He said, "But this kid's only 10 years old. He can't have a shotgun. He can't hunt." This is Wisconsin. You couldn't get a license. I says, "Dad, what are we going to do?" He said, "Don't worry, Marv. Come home." And they got a bandolier. So I looked like, a Mexican person with the bandolier over here, running around. And they put that around me. And then I had my 20 gauge shotgun, which he put a little rubber pad on it. And he said, "Marvin, if you see anybody, you unstrap that bandolier of shells, throw it under a log, and put the gun under the log." And he said, "You'll be fine." Because now he trusted me because he knew I wouldn't do anything with the gun. So those are the parts I remember of my childhood, just quickly. And then deer hunting with my dad, that kind of thing.
So how did you get to Alaska, and more specifically, Cordova?
Okay. First of all, I wanted to live in Alaska, burn firewood, and hunt and fish. Okay. Now, I'm a little kid. This isn't going to happen. How could this happen? But this is the way I grew up. This is where I wanted to do. And so when I went to college and I majored in, I had a double major, philosophy, psychology, so I got that background. And now I am disgusted where my life is going. And this is important for all of you because Joan hit it right on. You're going someplace and you don't know if you're going to get there, but you put all the work in to get there, then you have all the tools to do whatever you please. Okay, so now I'm going to college in Minnesota. I hear about this canoeing camp. I go to the canoeing camp. I eventually met my wife there, so it had a little plus, but didn't meet her there for 3 or 4 years. But now now they made me the canoeing expert. I'm the guide, so I'm the guide of the whole thing. I have to teach canoeing. How do you canoe? We're in Lake of the Woods, upper northern Minnesota, right next to Canada, and we trips into Canada. So I do that, and then I go back, and I'm not so sure about college anymore. And this is during the Vietnam War, but as long as you were in college, you were 4F, which means they didn't draft you. Okay? And then I decided to make a change. And at that point, I said, I need to be good here. I need to join the Peace Corps or Vista. And so I ran to Little Falls, Minnesota, filled out the forms at the post office, and I was accepted into Peace Corps in Malawi, Africa. And they said, you just have to learn Malawi, because they speak this thing. But I had already had Greek and Latin, and I didn't want any more languages flying at me. The next day came, since I remember I was a canoeing guide, the next day came the offer from Vista, which is Volunteers in Service to America, which was a program that Kennedy developed. Not Bob, but Jack Kennedy. And it said, you could go to Alaska. Holy moly! Never been on an airplane. Don't know anything about airplanes. Never been on a jet. I go to Green Bay, Wisconsin, get on a plane, they fly me to Springfield, Oregon, where I end up, now I get to run.
Okay.
Okay, but this guy's, Eugene, Oregon is the center for all running. Because the guy wrote the book, and I forget his name, Fontaine maybe it was, but anyway, this is the greatest place. So, and I always ran every day. I'd run 3 miles a day. I'd do everything like that. Anyway, I'm on the track at Eugene, Oregon. I'm diverting a little here, but I'm running around, and here's a lady in an apron and a dress running next to me. And she's 65 years old. Oh, this can't happen. She passes me, and I go, oh, God, maybe a little more training. So now but then I get a 3-credit course on how to behave when you get into Vista. And the main thing was for boys was to leave the women alone. Now you're at that age, do that. So, okay, that was one of the things I remember. So anyway, then they sent me to Caltag, Alaska, which is on the Yukon River. You know where the Iditarod goes through it every year. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm in Caltag. And it was just beautiful. I'm sitting on the side of the Yukon River looking down. I just came from Wisconsin, and then the guy says, I'll help you get some firewood for winter. And it turns out we were living in a cabin. We had no wood because we just got there in like October, November. And so we went to the bank of the Yukon and just cut trees and let them fall in and then took them down to the village. Okay, now where was I going again? How did I get here? Okay, so now I'm here. Yeah, I'm here now. But meanwhile, I had met Maisie at Lake Trails, which was the canoeing camp. So then we've been corresponding. So I went back and came to her. Yeah, go ahead.
Who's Maisie?
Maisie is my wife. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. But I go back and I know where she is, and she's going to college at Saint Scholastica.
Wait, you left Alaska?
Yeah, I left now because
okay. Just clarify.
But I diverged. After I went from, this is interesting too, but after I was in Caltag for a full year, they asked me to build a rammed earth house in the town of Mountain Village. Now this is a Middle East thing where you take a form and put clay in it and then pound it. So we're doing that. We're building forms, and I'm doing this for the Alaska State Housing, who wants to see if a rammed earth house would be perfect for all of Alaska. I mean, the walls are 4 feet thick. They're throwing mud in this form, and we just pound it all down, and we build it up we built actually a whole house. But I haven't been able to this day to find out if it's still in Mountain Village. Nobody seems to know that. And then,
I can ask somebody.
okay,
I know people who
good.
live there.
Because I've asked people that live there. Yeah, the people, they don't remember it.
Russins.
From the high school?
Yeah, the Russins.
No, not them.
Oh,
I know.
okay,
people
good.
who
Somebody else might know about this. But anyway, we built the rammed earth house. Okay, so now I'm done with that. I go back and I pick Maisie up to take her to college, which I don't know that her mother, who he was. This guy's pulling up in a car. And it was a 50 Chevy. I mean, it wasn't your best vehicle maybe, but it was perfect. Anyway, I took her to college. And then things she kept putting me off, you know how they are. Anyway, as far as, I'd like to live closer. Oh, she's going to tell you all kinds of crap. But anyway, I'd like to live closer. I'd like to live. I'm getting all these letters. She's happy where she is. But I call my friend in a town where she's teaching, and he sets up a blind date for her. I mean, this is 400 miles from my house. I said, Mom, I'm leaving, and I piled everything in my car. I go 400 miles. I'm at a blind date, and I get there in time.
Oh my God.
And she walks into this. They had it at a bar. The teachers. She's a teacher in Little Falls, Minnesota.
Yeah.
She's an art teacher too. So anyway, I come in, and she looks at me, and oh, baby, she just about died because she didn't think it was me. And then I went back home, and then I got a letter that said, I do wish you lived a little closer. We're back in the car again, and I went up there. I got a job in the slaughterhouse, so I worked in the slaughterhouse for a year.
Question. So how long was this period of time of you leaving and chasing her around? How?
Well, that was, I think she acquiesced after, about 3 months. But we'd known each other for a full year by correspondence and before, because I met her at the canoeing camp, so I got to see her there. Anyway, now I'm doing that, and then I get a contract to teach, which they reneged on because a confrontation. I signed the contract. I went to a lawyer, and he said it's not worth fighting this, even though I had the contract. So I put it off, even though I didn't know that he knew the person. He knew the whole school, and he was like on the school board. And here I'm asking the attorney whether I should bring the lawsuit. And he says not worth it. So I'd be careful on that kind of thing. So I don't have a. So I go to work for the railroad, and Maisie and I are now married. We married that June, following year in June, and then I work at the railroad. And I worked for a year, and then I said, we need to go to Alaska. And we had built a cedar strip canoe, and we put that on top of the 60 Pontiac. I had a little trailer. We loaded everything up, and here we come. So now we're in Anchorage visiting my Vista friend, staying in Anchorage, right down by the water. And I'm working for Ballard Builders for a month, building houses. And then my buddy says, hey, look at this. There's an ad in the Cordova paper, and it says they need a manager in a hardware store. And I said, where's that? Oh, he said, there's no road there or stuff like that. So I said, what the heck? So I did a resume. The resume looks pretty good when you go to college, have a couple majors, but this is how you should look at it. It's the tools. See, those were the tools that I had. Yeah. Now I can deal with people. I can put up with people, and they maybe can put up with me. I don't know, but it's the tools we're looking for. It isn't actually where you're headed unless you've headed correctly. And I don't think maybe you guys won't either. I did not. I hit it wrong like 2 or 3 different, I don't want to call them vocations, but one was a vocation. But, 2 or 3 different ways I was going that none of that panned out. But now I got the tools. So I send that in, and Carl Barth, who ran the hardware store in 1970, and they had just moved it on to Main Street where Siemens is now. So it's Siemens now. And so I sent him the resume, and he sent back airplane tickets. And he said, fly to Cordova. So we,
And that was in 1970.
that's 1970.
And so
yeah.
then when did
yeah.
you marry Maisie?
I married her in June
Oh,
'69.
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, we're now we're in the Anchorage airport. It's really windy, and we get out of this my '60 Pontiac, and Maisie drops the tickets, and they fly away. And now we're chasing them under cars in the Anchorage airport. We finally got the tickets back, so then we get on the plane. So now he put us up in the Prince William Motel. So now we're in the Prince William Motel, and the old fire hall is Bedarky. I used to be a fireman too, so I was there too. Yeah, that was the fire hall. We moved the fire trucks out because it wasn't safe, but now we allow the kids in, to play in the gym and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, we're sleeping because I had to have a nap. We got up kind of early, and that siren right next to us went off at noon. And I said, what the hell? Anyway, so then Carl Barr says, yeah, it looks good. He says, $700 a month. That's my wage. Okay. And he said, and you can rent the First National Bank of Anchorage. They had an upstairs apartment, $700. I said, wait, whoa. This isn't not going to work. But somehow, I did it anyway. Because I could see maybe potential. You don't know. And I'm getting to Cordova, and it was a nice place because the sun was up that morning and it just rained and it looked good. So, what the heck? So here we are. We come over here. And as it turns out, that was it for 34 and a half years, because then I kind of launched in there and I went through 4 different bosses, but I was always the manager, never owned it, didn't have to own it, didn't want to own it. And I watched each one do what they do when they do own it, and I didn't need to own it. They go to a different planet. That's been my experience. But I kept managing it, and was I heading the right way here with this now? Am I going okay with this? Or
Yeah,
am I
we
saying
love
too much?
it. No, we
Okay.
love it.
So anyway, now I'm there, and actually Florence was the husband, and Carl Barth, it was Carl's Hardware is what it was called, till Hammersmith bought it in '72, and he was a Coast Guard guy, and he married Patty Cressman, who was a local Cordovan here. And then after that, it was the third owner then was Norm Roberts and Violet. And then the last owner was Violet alone, because Norm Roberts had died. So I had all those owners, but I kept going. And I told them, when I retire, I'll tell you. And then, because they let me